Okay, what's going on, guys? Let me get all situated here. Right. All right. So, what's going on, guys? Week 26 of the beat breakdowns. If you're not already, make sure you're leaving a like, a comment, and subscribe with the noti bell. All right. Make sure you guys are doing all that so we can get the interaction up. We can get this thing really kind of going and moving forward. Um, I just want to say thanks for like everybody who like votes every single week. I'm really grateful for you guys and thank you for just like interacting with me. Um and yeah, like let's keep this thing going. The voting was pretty close this week. It was actually a tie. And yeah, so I ended up picking this one. It's a Lil Peep Type Beat just because of like how the views were on YouTube. And I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of like how this is clearly the one that's like the most popular. So I'm gonna just roll with this one. This is the one that was getting the most interaction on the page. So I was like, okay, we'll just roll with this. Yeah. So first thing is first. Um, like I said, like, comment, make sure you guys are doing all of that, please. It really, really goes a long way. Um, and I'll play the beat for you guys real quick, but I just want to do like a little quick kind of thing, like what this video is gonna really be. So for this week, the main thing that I'll probably focus on is just how do you like mix a beat when you don't have like already like catered drums, right? Um, and like why you would want to do that. This is for a Little Peep Type Beat, like I was just saying, and you can this is a technique that's not just exclusive to that. You can use this in any of your beats. I'll get into it like later in the video, um, after I explain a couple of things of like what's the drums and the like where we get the sample and how we can cut it up. But the main thing, like I'll like want to like focus in on today, like where you're gonna get the bulk of this video, is going to be really just like how do you like so like I guess like the bulk of this video, like what's gonna uh how do I say it? So the main thing I'm going to be talking about today is how to mix a beat in FL Studio with just stock plugins and just using EQs. Like, what are the EQ techniques that you need to have? Uh, but that's the main thing that I'll kind of go into today. Uh, After I like introduce the beat, do the things that we typically do. Nothing new or fancy about any of this. If you're not new to the channel. But yeah, we'll go right ahead and I'll introduce the beat to you guys. Here's the Lil Peep Type Beat from this week. Okay, so that is the like main like loops that we have for this. First thing that's here is this guitar loop. And so that loop comes to me from a different pack. It's a oh, this is like a just like an actual sample. It's called Young Buddha Bittersweet. Um, Probably by Young Buddha, I would assume. Uh, and what this starts off with, it's like it starts with a loud like crash sound like that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to cut that part out and then I wanted to modify how this thing was coming across. So instead of hitting on every beat like that, I wanted it to hit like where the snare would be. So now when it's arranged, it's there. And then I like brought in this next layer of it from the sample. So it's got like kind of like a vocal like chop to it, like a little vocal like sound that's in the background for that. Um, and I mean, really not much going on with it. I just stretched it to the 8 bars because it's an 8 bar loop, and then just kind of moved it around how I needed to, just so that it would sound exactly right. Um, yeah, and when you're moving around, especially guitar samples, guitar beats, and different stuff like that, what you want to keep in mind is making sure that everything is on beat. Now, there's a cool way you can do that. If like let's say your sample's just not on beat, you can like I mean if you like download a sample from like anywhere, like if like for example this one's from TrackLib for me. I just downloaded it and it was already giving me the time, the key, and different stuff like that. So like I kind of knew what I needed to do to like get this thing cooking and moving in the right direction. So I just had to stretch it to 8 bars. But if it's not like perfectly on beat, what you can do is you can right click right here, and I think it's time warp sample. Yeah, so if you right click on the top, go to the sample side, and then you hit time warp on sample, there's this new thing called new time. Um, and you can move and make sure everything's hitting on beat. And you can set your magnetized to quarter beat, and then control all, control Q, and it quantizes it on the beat. And then you can just drag it back in. So that's kind of a cool technique. I'll probably go more in depth in this on another week when I like actually like use this, so I can like kind of like give an example. But like with this, it's just making sure that it's all like quantized out, and then like you can kind of edit it that way. So that's a cool technique. How do you like do that? And I mean the other technique is just stretching it if it's already like on beat, stretching it and moving it around just like here in the channel. So you don't have to like do like all these like other effects and stretch the time out because sometimes it doesn't always sound the best, but you know, to each their own. And I mean, that's like the main thing that I did with the sampling. The other thing I did, and this is like what I'll kind of like get into later. It's like how did I like morph this sample into like being its own thing? Because originally the sample was this. So that's like it's like dry and compared to like what we have, right? Like this one's like obviously more wet and like it sounds like a little lighter compared to the other one. The other one just sounds like a little bit more of a raw take, you know. And I'll kind of like go into that, and it's yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's just do it now. So like the one thing that I did is like I really wanted to like if I'm going to go into here, turn off all the effects. So I started off with this. So I noticed there was like a lot of ringing in here. So I like picked this like just so you can like kind of like hear what I'm talking about. So there's like a little bit of a rumble, right? So what I did is I dragged that down to help that go down. Then with this, there's this sound. There's more of that like rumble, you know? And it's just like a little bit too much. So like I EQ'd it down just to deduct some of the like extra loud noises. Then I came in and did like this new technique that which I'll show later, and just took out a lot of the bass and a lot of the lower mids, and then like raised up the presence. And then added some chorus, just like some regular fruity chorus that kind of like pushes it around. And like if you don't know what chorus is, it's like basically like what a flanger is or a phaser, so it just like makes it rotate around. But chorus is like really, really fast with the rate and the depth. So it just makes it sound like it's like a whole like it says like a chorus, if you will. And you just like you can just use the default setting or like whichever one you want to kind of like go with because there's all kinds of like different settings and you can make your own of course too. And then you just like for me what I like to do and like some people like to do sends, I like to just have it be like in like a mixer knob, and then I just like to turn it up or down based on like what my ear likes, and then I added reverb to just kind of make the sample sound like it's like okay, like I like mixed this guitar, it's not like a sample, like I played this in, and it's like gives it that like breath. So like even though if the audio is not like say if there's like a hard cut on the audio, it doesn't just like start there. It gives it breath. It gives it life to the like the thing. That's like why you want to like add reverb to your samples if you're like you're doing like a new thing and it's like if it has a harsh cut, you can like add like a little bit of like decay to that thing without like messing with the time warp or any of that just by like editing with reverb. It just gives it like more breath so it doesn't sound like it's just like a raw like audio file where with harsh cuts. I mean, some people sometimes you do want it to sound like that, but with this one, I think really like it's like good to have that like just to make it sound like it's like a recorded one that you like kind of did on your own. Um, but that's just the mixing with guitar. That's kind of like how you like can like flip a guitar sample. But yeah, um, next I'll go into the drums. Just play all the drums out all together. Actually, I should just do this, make it easier. Mute this, and boom. Oh, okay, hold on. So what I did there, I mean, like you kind of just tell, like I like have two main phrases that I have with this. So I just have this hi-hat, that's my standard hi-hat with the rolls, and then I've got a hi-hat here that's standard, and then like I said or I put like a little accent on it with like making it go like quarter beat to make it sound faster. And the way you can just do that is just by like dragging in all of these on the drum rack, on the channel rack. You can just click all of these, and that's how you get the sound. Like that's like in Kanye's "Father Stretch My Hands," like you know, like that like really fast hi hat pattern. That's like basically what this is. It's exactly the kind of sound that you get with that, and it's like nice to have that like kind of just be a background sound to like pick up the pace. Because normally I like mess with the open hats just to give it like a new life, a new breath, but that like kind of can happen with this as well. So like you're like moving things around to kind of like make new sounds, make your even though like this thing doesn't really change up, like the sample doesn't really change up. This is just like kind of how I went in with the hi hats. And like with a Lil Peep Type Beat, like typically like he's got like the really like like the way it's like accented is like a really like especially like in the song Gym Class, right? That one like that hi-hat pattern, right? Um is just like this. And that's kind of how you can like get that like bounce, like that like you know. That's how the hi-hats are like in Gym Class, you know. And then we go to here and like with the rolls, quick little tip here, if you already have these things like you just hit Control L, that'll like put it out like out in legato. So you can do that, and then you can just grab this and hit Control U like based on like whatever roll you have like magnetized. And so like I just like did this with like a quarter beat or a quarter or a half step, quarter step, or so half step, quarter beat, quarter step, or half step. But basically it's all half step and quarter beat right there. um, just to kind of get those rules like make them unique, make the thing like a little bit more different. So it's like they can like really stand out. So like I think like with like the things that are most important with like Little Peep Type Beats are just like how the like kick and snare interact too. And like if you're like playing your hi hats right off of those, so it's just like you just want to like kind of like in that slower beat tone, you kind of just like have it like play off of that, and then like have the kicks speed up as the like thing goes up. So like you have like more frequency of the kicks, and then like the snares play off of like where the rolls are going, like where the rolls vice versa. And then the reason I like had to change the hi-hats so much is just because the open hats I thought the open hats were doing a nice call and response here. The two different open hats that I had, I like the like call and response I was getting with that. And yeah, I just felt like okay, another way I can do that is just with the hi-hats. And like one thing with the snares is like I layered it with like more of like a rim shot sounding snare and a just the open snare that you heard, like the knockdown. Yeah, because like typically like it's good to layer snares if you like okay, this one's like not full enough on the lower end. And we'll show you that like I'll show you that like once we get to like the frequencies at the end with the EQ. Um yeah, but like that's what that is to me. You have a crash in here at the beginning of the phrases. And then the 808s. And here's the thing with this that I like wanted to like kind of like go into. Um, just I normally would like put these all the way up with the velocity. But with this 808 sample, the way that it was like interacting with like this note, it was adding a little bit more rumble than I needed, so I had to edit the velocity. And the way that I like found that this was in tune, I've like shown this like a couple of times. It's this website called Stamp Lab. Right? And then you can just drag in whatever audio into there. Convert it to MIDI. And then you can kind of just see where the root notes are. And I just made my like bass line based on that. And it was obviously like a little bit different with like where the stretch was on here in this consolidated version with the different stuff. But yeah, that's kind of like where I wanted to say about that, like how you can kind of like just make sure your samples are like in tune. You can just like base your bass notes off of that if you unless you want to play it by ear. A lot of people like to play it by ear. If you just like want to guarantee you're having a hard time hearing it, that's a good technique to use. I'm gonna play the beat out one more time. Very vibey and chill beat, this one. But yeah, let's see. Uh, Song structure wise, 8-bar intro, 16-bar hook, 24-bar verse, 16-bar hook, 8-bar outro. Pretty simple. Obviously, like we take things in and out, and as the verse continues on, so like hook out the kick, build it up, bring back the bass, take out the snares with the like fast hi-hat, bring the snares back, drop everything except for the kick, and then bring the hi-hats back, and then leave room for the artist to do their thing at the end. So that's just the song structure for that. Next thing I'll go into, now this is the main technique. I think if you're going to take anything away from this video, I know like it's like kind of repetitive with some of the stuff I do with the samples, but this is probably the technique you should take away from this video. So I'm going to show you guys how to EQ your beat to make sure none of the sounds are clashing. So one of the things you want to do, especially with your sample, right? You want to start off like, okay, so I know that I already took out those like deductive pieces that I didn't like, right? That I showed in the beginning of the video. Um, but what you want to start out with is like your lower band and your upper band. And you have your like whole thing here, and I just drag it over till it sounds right. And it's not like affecting the main sound. So it's like I have this one being a little bit affected by the bass, but like typically you want to like do this. So it sounds full still, but you know, with this one we wanted it to sound a little empty so we could like get the bass really rocking. Uh, but like typically what you do is you drag this so that it sounds full, and I'll do this on another sample, like on another sound. So we get this from way out here. We drag it to starts messing with the sound, right? And then you bring it back to like where the sound isn't affected, right? Sound's not affected anymore, so we'll put it right there. And then I like raise like this. So especially with the hi-hats, I look for the part that like makes it the punchiest throughout the beat, right? So like right there, it's like you can tell usually by the heat signature of like how this is coming up. Like, okay, that like part might sound best, but you got to use your ear, find something that's going to be good. And usually with my hi-hats, I don't like take anything off of the higher end because even when you like kind of do that, like it doesn't like hit the right frequencies. Um, then we do the snare, right? And I didn't really roll off anything on this one because it was like more of like a sound that had already been like cleared out, but then I like raised to certain levels. But the technique that you really like want to keep in mind when you're doing this is this run right here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So the promo sound, right? So we got this here. We have this, so we drag it till like it sounds like it's being messed with a little bit, and then we drag it back out until it doesn't sound like it's being messed with. Same with this. You can like kind of hear how it like opens back up, and it's like okay, so it's got all the space that it had before, but now it doesn't really like cloud the sound. And what it does, this technique, um, for all of the sounds that I have, right? It like forces the sound to like go only into this frequency range, right? So it's like I only want this sound in this frequency range, and this like helps with the phasing. This helps with like all of the basic stuff with your beat. Like okay, if your beat's kind of like sounding like a little clouded, right? And like you get this on like all of these sounds. It doesn't matter which sound you're using it on. Try to like drag it so you can hear it, and this will like help you cut through. This will like help your mix. Like, okay, like why does like my like if your like kick sounds muddy, or if you're like your claps aren't standing out, generally speaking, or like maybe like your bass is like rumbling too much. Generally speaking, you have to like roll off some of it, right? You have to roll off some of the sounds because it's like it might be interfering with some of the frequencies, especially in your melody. Um, so it's like if like it sounds like a little garbled or like weird sounding, chances are like your EQs are not right. And you should take a look at your EQs. And like this is like really a good practice. Like with the bass, I like cut out like everything else except for the bass sound because this is exclusively the bass. You know, and it's like for another example, with the snare, you like just raising this and like taking out the pieces you don't like. It's just always important to like uh you know, just important pieces to like add into your track. Um, but yeah, um, so like that's how you can kind of get your mix to cut through. But yeah, so let's see. That's like really the main techniques I wanted to go over today. Um, is there anything else? I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. make sure you leave a like, hit a subscribe, hit the bell for me, guys, and then leave some comments down below about like some things you want to see in the future. Um, but yeah, just like remember from this week, technique of mixing, that's like the main thing that you can do to like really like make your thing stand out. Okay, that's all I got for you guys. Peace. God bless, and you know, having a great week. I'll see you guys next week for another video.